Everybody, Brett here from Marlon. Just going to cover off a couple of in-season riding tips and maintenance on your sled, things to keep track of. A few things just to keep in mind before you load up or when you load up. I've left the cover on my site here just to say one thing: if you're putting it up on your sled deck and you're throwing your cover on, just take a look at the cover when you throw it back on. Make sure there's no rips and tears and all the buckles are working properly. In particular, that the front end is actually on the sled and going to stay there. One of the things you definitely want to check before you're going out is you want to check how much oil you have. And by the way, this isn't an ad for Skidoo. It just so happens that I ride Skidoos, so this is what we're doing on. But obviously it's valid for any machine out there. Check your oil, check your belt tension. So once you pop your side panels off, you're basically just looking for belt deflection in here. So the way we check it on our Skidoos, in particular with the Skidoo OEM belt, is just that the valley of the belt is level with the top of the secondary. And you know, it's got to be pretty close to being bang on. That's a pretty good visual. You can also check your jack check. You can also check tension and stuff by moving back and forth, seeing if you need to tighten your chain up at all. On the other side, obviously, if there's too much play in here, this one's pretty good. I keep an eye on this. And that goes the same for all of them. Maybe belt drive's a little bit different, but there's a tensioner on the belt drive, so you want to look at that too. So just a visual inspection. Everything's reasonably clean. A biggie, if you do blow a belt or you're missing a tool out of your tool pouch, if it's somewhere in this vicinity, just take a look down in here and make sure there's nothing loose that's bouncing around in there, because nothing wrecks your day quicker than something jumping up and hitting the belt and going through the clutches. That'll put you back on the truck pretty quick. I don't change anything on I don't change the can or anything like that, so I still got all the proper stuff that comes OEM stock the way it's supposed to be. But you can pull stuff back and take a look. So I just kind of make sure that my exhaust sensor is in the right position. It hasn't come out, it's not loose. A few things like that. And again, looking around here, obviously the chain driven side, you can't see much in here, but back to that, moving the secondary and making sure that that's good. Some guys do like to change their oil mid-season. I can't remember what the spec is on how many hours, but if you haven't done it in a year or two, I would definitely recommend doing that. And then, you know, just simple things. A really easy, simple thing to do, even though we have shot start, is taking a look at your pull cord. Pull it out a little bit, take a look around here. This should be a good knot in here that it can't pull through, but more importantly, look for fray right in here, because that's always where they kind of give out. And again, it just makes for a really hard day if you got to start off the flywheel all the time. That's pretty much what there is around on this side. Make sure your DES or your tether is working properly by starting the machine and just pulling it off. And if you're riding a machine that's a few years old and the OEM didn't put it on there, man, oh man, make sure you go out and buy an aftermarket one and put it on. There's nothing worse than riding with somebody that doesn't have a tether on their machine. It's dangerous for you, the rider, and it's really dangerous for other people as well, because everybody's seen a ghost sled, but a ghost sled that is under power is twice as dangerous as one that has a tether pulled and it's just freewheeling down the hill. It will stop. And again, just kind of going through here, your normal routine stuff. So just making sure that your brake lever is in good condition. There's no cracks, no nut. It's not too loose. It's got to have a little bit of play in it, but not too bad. Just a visual check on this stuff. Another good one to look for, especially if you're somebody, I'm a taller guy. I like a little bit taller riser than stock, so I went up just a little bit. Make sure you got enough free play in your throttle cable. This is really, really important. And also, if you're taking the front end of your machine off a little bit more, check for fraying on the throttle cable down at where it connects on to the motor itself. There's, you know, if that breaks down there, it makes for, again, a really crappy day trying to get back to the truck. So just some preventative stuff. You know, the next big important would be your track, and it would just be, you know, pretty simple. You can't really check every single lug on your track, but when you've got your machine up on your deck, just every once in a while, every time I walk by, I'm actually visually looking at making sure the lugs are good, looking for the clips and to make sure there's nothing missing on there. Tracks start to delam, especially if you're talking the taller lug tracks. You get the 2.5 inch plus. The faster you go down the trail, there's more heat generated in these tracks, and they do start to delam. If you forget and you're playing with your buddies and racing back to the truck, we kind of forget how hot this gets. So yeah, checking the high facts, making sure everything's good in there. It's moving well, the bogey wheels are good. And on a Skidoo, there's a couple of grease points on there. You know, it doesn't hurt to grab a grease gun every couple of rides and just give it one squirt in there. You can actually hear it pop through, or you can see it pop through. So don't get crazy on it, but just make sure that it's lubricated, and that'll keep it from squeaking when you're going down the trail and driving everybody crazy.